This Big 12 Conference Preview, Part 1 edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up with SGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Hey everybody, Jim McMahon here, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Cox.
He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
We're going to talk about some wildlife today.
Oh, really? What do we got? What do we got in the agenda?
Well, it's the yearly reminder that bison and buffalo are not the same animal. Just going to throw that out there.
They seem like the same animal. Joining us, a fan of all things bisons and buffalo, Colby Dant, aka Pick Dundee. What's happening, Colby?
It's the Big 12. Go play intramurals, brother.
Is that a
Final.
Is that? It feels like you got a little bit of Mike Tyson in there. What was that?
Or that,
I was trying to do the Dan Hawkins impersonation, former Colorado coach, on that rant, but I did get a chance to interview Dan Hawkins, and one of my favorite things when I was asking him about that was he was like, "I was just hamming and egging it." And I was like, "What is that?" I had never heard that term.
Hamming and egging it.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. What does it mean?
I'm assuming he said like I was angry, but I was also being
I would
humorous.
think it's like the like hamming it up is similar expression, but I don't know where he got the egg from.
Not chopping it up, not like just not just mixing it up.
You've heard the
like
hamming it up. Yeah. I would assume hamming and egging it up is similar.
Maybe it means you're doing a bunch of rhymes.
Either
like
way,
Dr.
I
Seuss.
appreciated how he used that like 3 times in the interview. I was just hamming and egging it.
Maybe that's
I
freestyling.
have to use that with White Tiger.
Maybe it's freestyle.
All right.
Maybe ham and eggs is his freestyle breakfast. So he's just saying he's winging it. A lot can be going on here. So if you're watching this, you'll see the beautiful logo at the top of the screen here. We're not sure if this will actually be the Big 12 or Big 18 or whatever sponsorship.
16 right now. 16.
They should just call it the Sweet 16. Say fuck it.
That would be pretty sweet.
That'd be pretty cool.
So it does seem like I've now read 2 reports that are suggesting that the big part is the part that's going to be sold, so it'll be the something 12,
the big Chevy.
But like, why don't you make it just the switch to 16?
Oh, they're going to keep it 12 still.
It wasn't
That's
explicit.
Insane.
It wasn't.
If they rename the Big 12, but they keep the 12 part, Colby. This is why.
Well, Colby,
I sometimes pull my hair out.
I didn't understand it either, but apparently they're saying that
you've seen these reports though.
Yeah, and I don't understand it because
they don't want to change.
Well, they were
tradition.
the Big 8 though. Like when I started watching college football, Colorado and Oklahoma State and Kansas State and Iowa State were in the Big 8, and that had existed for like fucking 80 years.
Wasn't there a Southwest Conference at some point?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, how have they not learned to rename their conference something without a number? How do they not just change it? There's the Big 10, just rename it to something without the fucking 12 in it. Same with the Big 10.
I have a serious question. What conference has the oldest name?
Oh,
like who?
Well, it would have been the Pac-12 or no, because the Pac-12 went to, it's probably
they were the Pac-8.
No,
right?
the ACC is older than the SEC, I think, right?
So
Actually, no, I think the SEC is older, but they had different teams in it.
Just call it like the Freedom.
They had like Tulane and Georgia Tech.
Call it something generic, like the Freedom Conference. Say, you're worried about keeping the memories of the Big 12. There's all these different teams in it. Like, what? Why hang on to the name of the Big 12?
I mean, like I said, maybe a tiny bit, but normally that's been as a pun, as a joke, because the conference, everyone thought that was going to be the conference that collapsed, and it turns out it's the Pac-12 and might be the ACC next.
Oh, what do you mean?
I mean, I think if we're placing wagers right now,
What do you mean?
The Big 12 stability is a lot more, a lot more
ACC
stable.
is on the way out.
Well, they're more unstable than the Big 12 by a gigantic amount.
Illuminati conference isn't going to go anywhere. We can agree.
Kramer did say, what was that? Oh, we will save it, I guess, for the ACC. There was a guy who was playing some sort of casino game in Singapore, I think, or China, and hit a $4 million jackpot and immediately died of cardiac arrest. We're gonna nominate him for Real Men and Degens, and since it was in Singapore, Ryan said save it for the All Coastal Conference preview because Singapore is a coastal nation. So stay tuned for that. Ryan also warned us no Bronny James talk because we're recording this ahead of time, which is funny because
you ruined the illusion.
I feel like last time we did this, Ryan kept mentioning the people who were missing in the submarine during all the previews, and then of course when the episode came out,
it's not funny, but it's funny.
They had died instantly. Like basically their thing collapsed and they became dust. But kind of fun way to go out. But Ryan kept going, I wonder where that sub is now. And it was a month after we had found out that they tragically demised.
Well, now everyone's gonna know that we're in a time machine right now.
We are a little time traveling.
All right. So big thoughts about the big.
I can't wait for it.
Can we just call it the Big 16?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to call it the Big 16.
Sure.
I reached out to Ryan Moneyline.
Why
Mac.
not just call it the Sweet 16?
Yeah, let's call
They
it the
should
Sweet 16.
do that just to be
Just start calling it that.
Host of the
What's a good company that has sweet in it?
Sweet
tea.
Sweet and low.
Oh,
Sweet green?
A sweet tea company needs to make it.
Yeah,
The,
I mean this
the
was
sweet tea, the something sweet tea
Sweet
16.
and low. Sweet and low too, man.
No, sweet and low is like.
Didn't they say that leads to cancer?
It's not. It's
but
not.
they say football does too. They can blame everything.
I'm just saying, there's countries
Took a breath
that have
of oxygen.
countries with poor moral compasses that don't allow you to buy sweet and low in the stores. We'll just leave it at that. Anyway, yeah, no. So the Sweet 16.
What I love about this conference is I do feel like there's a lot of pretty good teams. It does feel like this is fun where you take some shots on some long shot conference championship winners. I gave out Oklahoma State last year 50-1, got to the Big 12 conference game, and then of course got demolished by Texas, but still was a fun sweat there. 3-1 on my Big 12 locks from last year. But Moneyline Mac was saying, basically the schedule is huge with all these newcomers. You're looking to draw Arizona State, Baylor, BYU, Cincy, and Houston on the schedule this year. So, I like that it's wide open. And his theory was that Oklahoma State got to the Big 12 game last year because they drew all 4 newcomers.
Well, yeah, their schedule was light. And Texas did too. I think they got 3 of the 4. I think, if memory serves me correct. But
So losing Texas and Oklahoma, picking up Colorado and Utah,
and Arizona and Arizona State,
State.
Yeah.
Is it a net? It's a net loss still, right?
It depends on how you look at it. I mean, obviously,
just quality
Colby
of football right now.
Texas,
No, but
I mean, Colorado's got the same amount of national championships as Texas since integration.
No, I'm saying
you know what I mean? Like, okay.
Would you just did you just reference integration?
Yeah, because Texas, if you had
that was very defensive. I just brought up the fact that
I'm just saying I'm so sick of Texas fans. Like, you've won national championship
maybe
in
Arizona,
a long fucking time, and even that national championship in 1971 that you claim, you lost to Notre Dame in the championship game, and they had the same record. Notre Dame beat you, and you claimed the national championship. Fuck you.
Just suggesting that maybe even though they picked up 4 teams, that they got worse as a conference on the field. That was where I was going with it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously,
Probably.
Oklahoma, you could argue is the best brand in the history of college football.
I didn't. No, I'm not talking about just brand. I'm talking about teams this year. If you're power ranking all 138 teams, which I'm sure you're doing, if we added up the quality of Oklahoma and Texas in a vacuum is way better than these 4 teams combined.
For this year, I don't agree with that.
No. Okay.
Arizona,
no, it was a question.
Colorado, ton of star power.
Arizona just beat Oklahoma in the bowl game.
Utah.
I like Arizona.
Utah comes into the conference. All of a sudden, they're 3-1 to win it.
That's what I'm saying. Utah's very good, man.
I think you have. Yeah, I think you have 2 interesting teams and 2 doormats. That's my handicap. All right, but
Whoa,
yeah.
wow. Who's the doormat?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll
I mean,
get
I know
to it.
Arizona State, but you can't
We'll
talk
get to
about
it.
Arizona State, but you can't
We'll
talk
get
about
to
the
it.
Colorado Buffs as doormats.
Their mascot
Colby,
is
we
a bison.
Oh yeah.
We
This
coming.
is easy
You have to
money.
know
You guys-
when to come.
You got,
Easy
yeah,
money.
everyone's coming in Boulder. Everyone's coming. All right, Arizona Wildcats. Good use of the cat sound effect. They went 7-2 in the Pac-12 last year, 9-3 overall. This year, the win total is 7.5. Interesting because one could argue that this conference is less quality than the Pac-12 was last year.
It is. I don't think there's any debating that.
Minus 110 each way. 12-1 to win the conference. 790 to make the playoff. 250 to 1 to win the college football championship. I mean, it's certainly they're my second favorite newcomer to the conference.
How much you weighing, Colby? Because we have so much conference realignment. Does it hurt them coming into the conference? Obviously, I don't think it would be an advantage, but a team like Arizona, are you knocking them because they're a newcomer in this conference?
Not really. I mean, I would knock them because they're going through a coaching change.
New coach, greater than new conference.
But
new road trips.
But I do think their coach. I actually think he's a better coach than the previous coach. But the question is how fast can he adapt to the personnel? You know, they lost Jonah Coleman, their star running back, to Washington. They lost a couple key pieces on the defensive line to Texas. So
they have a tremendously difficult road schedule as well. Like almost all of the road spots are spots that you would say, "Ooh, that's a tough spot to play."
Their road spots are tough, but they do get 5 home games in the Big 12. And you look at last year, 3 losses by combined 16 points. But again, you got the coaching change. How do we feel about Fafita with the new head coach, Colby?
I mean, I think he's a stud. But you know, there is something, and I mentioned this on our Big Ten Washington preview, was that there was something about last year with Arizona. It was a great run, but you can look back and say
flimsy.
They beat Stanford by 1 point. They beat Colorado by 3 points. They beat Oregon State by 3 points. You know, you wonder if that was just and obviously you have the thing that historically they say sophomore slump. You know what I mean? Like that normally happens, but
where are the 8 wins? I wanted to be bullish on this.
And we should mention that the Kansas State game's a non-conference game. They had that set up for non-conference, and then the collapse of the Pac-12
now, if
happened.
they lose that, will that actually count against their conference?
No, this happens in the ACC all the time. The ACC teams.
Well, no, the ACC teams actually like do it, but like this one, it was understandable because they had this schedule for the past 5 years.
I see what you're saying.
And the Pac-12 collapsed.
It does not count towards your conference record, which is silly.
Which is hilarious because you could get a rematch. I'm a big fan of Brent Brennan, though. I think he's a really good coach. It'll be interesting to see how fast though he can get this going because obviously, you know,
where'd he come from?
San Jose State.
They were pretty bad last year, right?
No, they won 7 games. They actually should have played in the Mountain West Championship. They got robbed by UNLV. They beat UNLV's ass, and then they put UNLV in the Mountain West Championship
tiebreaker
game.
situation.
Yeah,
classic tiebreaker. Anytime the tiebreaker is the spotlight, it's a problem.
But you should know that K-State game, which I expect them to lose in Manhattan.
So they're playing 10 Big 12 teams.
Yes.
So they have at Kansas State, at Utah, at BYU, at UCF.
Very
at TCU. So their road games are, some of the more hostile environments, especially for this conference.
Yeah.
That being said, I do like them at home. I like the talent on this team.
I'm gonna go with the under just because this conference is by in my opinion, like the SEC, you can bring this up to, like the SEC has like so much top tier programs. It's very interesting to see who's going to be in the championship game, right? Like throughout week in, week out. But this whole conference, the entire conference, there's no real dead weight. I mean, unless you want to say Cincinnati or Arizona State, but I actually think those programs are on the rise a little bit. Cincinnati would be the questionable one. This one, I feel like every game is it's the hardest to project, I think, out of any conference in America, this Big 12. But I look at Arizona and I see at Kansas State as a loss, at Utah as a loss, at BYU as a loss, and at UCF as a loss. I think they could beat TCU, but that's 4 losses right there. So that would put them at 8-4. But I also think they're vulnerable at home against Texas Tech, Colorado, and West Virginia, as well as getting Willie Fritz in Houston on November 15th.
I think if it wasn't for the new coach, I'd be over on this team. But that road schedule is brutal. So yeah, I'm with you. I think you got to go under here. Although I feel like I'm going to be betting them on in certain spots. Like I
definitely
don't think
they're
a
bowl
bad team.
I think they're a good team. That's just that's a tough schedule.
It does feel like 7-5. So probably not going to toss them and make playoff at plus 790. I mean, obviously if you lose 5 games, you're not going.
I mean, they would, if they win all their home games, they would still need to steal a road game to get to 8. It just seems,
probably steal 1 road game, but then blow one of these home games.
Yeah.
If I had to guess,
they have some tough road spots. So we're all in the under.
Under 7.5. Ryan, you're keeping your under streak alive. I like this.
I was listening to some internet content about gambling, and apparently unders are sharper than overs. Arizona State, we don't mess with no Devils. And it paid off for Antonio Pierce to do all that pandemic cheating. He's now the head coach of the Raiders.
That wasn't cheating.
Arizona, I mean, it did seem like they were bending rules aggressively.
Well, I mean, the most hilarious part was the people inside the Arizona State building leaking the playbook to take down
bastards. Yeah.
Herm Edwards. Like, what? You work for Arizona State. How could you do that?
Don't you want to win?
Yep. It used to be we had a common enemy. Now you can't trust anyone. 2-7 in conference. They still haven't recovered. 3-9 overall. 4.5 is the win total this year. Plus 125 to the over. Minus 150 to the under.
I thought they fought hard for him though, and I thought coming into what he walked into was a disastrous situation with everyone leaving. You know, they should have beat Washington, the national champions. They got robbed on a pass interference call as they were about to score. The next play was a pick 6. That would have put them at the 1 yard line, and then they would have won the game. There was less than a minute left, so they would have beat the team that played in the national championship. I just thought they fought hard for him, like the Cal games, the USC game, the Colorado game. But at the same time, they did lose Jaden Rashada to Georgia. Jeff Sims comes in. And this schedule's
do
insane.
We have him? Yeah. Do you think he's going to start Sims over Sam Leavitt?
I would assume Levitt. It's Levitt. But
Sam's going to leave it.
He comes over from Michigan State. I would assume it's Sims just because Kenny Dillingham's history with mobile quarterbacks. But I don't know.
He's a bum though. I mean, I don't know. That's not exciting.
Either way, this schedule is pretty insane. Let's talk about the non-con because they get Wyoming. Wyoming's got a new head coach in Jay Salvell, but he was their DC, and Wyoming's been a great defensive team.
At least they play him at home.
True, but I still think like that's anyone's game.
Yeah. That's a different kind of new head coach, you know.
And then you have exactly. And then you have Mississippi State and Jeff Lebby coming in. That Mississippi State.
We love that hire.
I think I actually favor Arizona State, but not by much. And then at Texas State, they're going to lose that game.
Really?
Yeah, Texas State. I think Texas State has an outside chance to make the CFP. I think like they're going to be in the Sun Belt Championship.
Whoa.
So
why would you have a road Sun Belt game if you're Arizona State?
Yeah, I love it though. Personally, I think it's good for college football.
I mean, honestly, it is. We were discussing this before the show, but it used to be that when a conference was like no one was all that good at the end of the year because they were beating each other up. It was like a good thing. At some point about 10-15 years ago, it became about not playing teams. Like who can make the best schedule.
Well, that's what's great though about the 12-team playoffs. Yeah. Hopefully it eliminates.
Well, we'll get to 24 and then it completely eliminates it. And when people realize they'll make more fucking money if they play good teams and not fucking Samford on November 23rd. They're 110-1 to win the conference and 1,000-1 to win the college football championship. 5 of the 8 teams we're talking about today are 1,000-1. That's fun. And if you adjust Arizona State for the juice, it is the second lowest total in the conference.
I'm surprised it's even 4.5 to tell you the truth.
Only to Houston.
When you look at it, I don't have.
I mean, what are their guaranteed wins?
That's what I'm saying. They have 0.
And, that's what I'm looking at. And then they have 5 games that are maybe 50-50.
Wyoming, Mississippi State, Texas State, and Cincinnati. But Texas State and Cincinnati are on the road.
Yeah, at Cincinnati, after you play Utah, you're probably banged up from that game.
Yeah.
Is this the hardest schedule in Power 5?
No, I think.
And
Florida,
you're playing Utah. You're playing Utah on a short week too.
Yeah, I think that is a very challenging schedule, and like there's a chance, and Kenny Dillingham needs to watch out because if you lose to Wyoming and Mississippi State, I don't know that you're going to win a game, but.
I think they got a couple wins in there, but to your point, it's like you got to win BYU. You got like
guaranteed wins. They're at 0. Yeah. So I mean, what would you say is
they don't have an
guaranteed win?
FCS? I mean,
If you're playing,
who's the worst team on their schedule?
If you're playing Arizona
BYU.
State in Survivor,
I think BYU though is like BYU had many QB injuries
by win. If I'm looking at this by win total, BYU's adjusted win total is 4.3. Arizona State's 4.1.
So they should beat BYU, but that's not a guarantee.
I don't think so.
That's
I think BYU is better than Arizona
That's why
State.
they chose it for homecoming.
Yeah.
They're like, this is our best shot. We got to get this one. I mean, the road games, to your point, are very difficult. Could I see a team like Kansas losing, dumping a game in here? Like,
actually, believe it or not, Utah struggles in the desert.
Maybe,
Utah historically struggles in Tempe.
Yeah, I guess you don't have to play them in.
But Utah. This is going to seem surprising, but it is very difficult to get. I mean, I much more willing to take an over on Arizona than Arizona State.
Yes, agreed. And I'm shocked that it's 4.5. If I was setting this, it would be at 2.5.
Well, like I said, with the juice, it adjusts down to basically 4. Maybe they'll move it to 3.5 eventually. We'll see. Really sad for the state of Arizona. All unders.
Hey, if you guys signed up with Circa Millions yet, Circa Survivor, they're giving away. Circa Sports giving away $16 million in prizes. Oh my God! 10 million Circa Survivor. You guys know how to play NFL Survivor. Circa Millions. You get pick 5 NFL teams against the spread every week. Very easy. You sign up in Las Vegas. Come out, hang out with us. Kramer and I will be there for contest weekend, August 22nd through the 24th. Perfect time to come by. We're going to be doing some live shows. There's some open bar events. I mean, why would you not want to be out in Las Vegas, open bar event, signing up, rolling the dice for your chance to win millions and millions of dollars? And if you're thinking like, oh, to get through all survivors, good crazy. Circa Millions also has quarterly prizes, so which you got a much better chance of cashing one of those. Get all the details, circuitsports.com. And if you need a proxy to let you, because you can play from anywhere and use a proxy, footballcontestproxy.com, promo code SGP. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Dog days of summer, and that means Underdog Fantasy. We got Best Ball Mania, millions of dollars, 15 million in guaranteed prizes. Kramer and I cranking out a bunch of drafts over there. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. Give you that deposit match up to $250 in bonus cash. The Pick'em specials, they keep throwing. Pick'em special after Pick'em special, available in a ton of states, including California and the great state of Canada. Shout out to you, Canada.
Oh, Canada, we love our beaver.
And we also love Underdog Fantasy. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN.
All right. Boy, weird having the Arizona teams in the Big 12. Although I will say it's at least not as weird as the Big 10 geolocation problem.
Yeah, and to me, you still have like
UCLA playing at Rutgers. To me, is the weirdest.
It is, and all of that is like even Washington Rutgers is like what? And
yeah, Arizona State kind of feels like a Big 12-ish team.
Yeah, I agree. And
yeah, just like Stanford Duke. It's a rivalry we've been born to have.
Like BYU is in Utah. You got Colorado, who's I know they were coming back to the Big 12, but they're original Big 8 team. They're an original Big 8 team. So those are border battles right there. They're all the states touch each other.
Colby approved.
Yeah.
West Virginia and Cincinnati are the odd ones out.
But even that, I like that rivalry. I like that rivalry developing.
Need to get Pitt in there.
I'd say UCF is the one that's like, huh?
That's true.
Yeah.
Baylor. Well, they had to have a team in Florida. Baylor, 2-7 last year. Not their best work. 3-9 overall.
Do you know the last time they were 2-7?
2-7 in conference.
Yeah, it was the COVID season. And you know what they did the next year?
They won the Natty.
They won the Big 12. This is honestly, if we're talking the last 15 years of college football, this is the hardest team to read.
Well, the win total is 5.5, so they're not getting much respect in the market. But they do play 9 conference games, only 3 non-con, but still to have a conference win total of 2.5 is pretty low.
And he's on the hot seat. They could fire him mid-season, but it's weird. This is a hard team to read because like go back to Matt Rule 1-11, then like what quickly 11-3. The multiple coaches have done this where they look like shit, and then the next year they're awesome.
They have the means to get it done. I guess is the answer potentially 65-1 to win the conference, 1,000-1 to win the national championship. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, how much of what happened last year is. I mean, we were pretty out on Baylor pretty in on Baylor last year.
Texas State blew them out in the opener. That's when we knew it was like
that was when I said I went 3-1. That was the one. I thought Baylor was gonna have a shot.
Well, I say it because I want to make sure we don't make the same sin twice.
They hung with Utah. Obviously Texas.
They should have beat
them.
Utah actually that game. They were actually the better team. They somehow let Utah win.
I mean, after they won at Cincinnati, which that was a tough place to get a W. Just the wheels came off. They lose to Iowa State. They heartbreaking loss to Houston at home. They get destroyed by Kansas State. They get destroyed by TCU. They lose by a field goal by West Virginia. I don't think they won a Big 12 home game last year.
But I will say this: like they're a really hard team to read. Not only this year, every year, because you look and you're like the years they've done really well. A lot of those years they're not returning players. Normally, like it kind of tells you something. It's just like random to me. But that Utah game also is another one that's a non-con game. The week 2 matchup at Utah. That's the
home and home from last year.
Yeah. So, but how about that? There are other non-con games. Are Tarleton State, who's trying to become an FBS team.
They're pretty good.
And Air Force, who just beat them in a bowl game 2 years ago. Watch out, because Air Force will
aim high. Air Force obviously definitely has a nice home field with the elevation, but not quite. The Baylor, that's at home for Baylor, right?
Yeah, but I think they played in San Antonio in that bowl game when they beat them. So not that far away. But
what's the story on the quarterback?
They got DeQuan Finn coming in from Toledo. He's a stud at Toledo. We'll see if he can.
An old guy.
Yeah. You always like and they have
right?
Mike Leach's former backup QB Sawyer Robertson as the backup. Yeah, I mean they did well in the portal. Michael Trigg was like once a 5-star for USC at the tight end spot.
They were. I mean, kind of interesting because they lost all their Big 12 home games, but they were plus 24 yards per game in Big 12 action. So they competed in the conference. Well, the numbers wouldn't suggest it, and getting the 6 wins with this team,
we're doing it again.
Feels pretty doable.
Dark horse to win the conference.
I don't know. I mean, it's 65 to 1. I think I might take a shot on Baylor.
You got to see a redshirt senior transfer.
I think
the MAC.
I think Big 12 is pretty wide open. I mean,
love the MAC.
Part 2 has some of the obviously favorites when it comes to winning the conference, but at 65 to 1.
By favorites, you mean betting favorites, not Colby's favorites. These are Colby's favorites.
I'm going to take the over. I think on Baylor 5.5. I believe in
playing with dynamite though, because look, if they
dynamite,
because he could be fired by October 5th.
Yeah.
If he loses, if they have a losing record by October 5th,
that's me blowing up the Big 12, Sweet 16 coming through.
I mean, what do you think their record will be by the end of October 5th?
That's great.
Like October 6th.
So Tarleton win at Utah loss.
They're gonna lose it.
Air Force at home. That's tough. So I'll say
Sean's a big Air Force.
Yeah, I love Air Force. What do they have? Do they have them in a conference this year, Colby?
Mountain West.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. 2-2 between.
I got them 5-1 going into the bye.
Really?
Maybe 4-2.
Really?
I think they could be. I think they have at least 3 wins. To Kramer's point, they might have 4.
They lose at Utah. They lose at Iowa State. The rest of the games are easy.
They might lose at Buffalo, aka Colorado, but they should be able. BYU, Air Force, and Tarleton. I think they can win at home. And then they got 3.
See, my thing is, if you tell me Aranda is not fired this year, I actually think I would take the over. But the potential of him being fired by October 5th is certainly there. I think there's a decent shot they're 2 and 3.
I got them going over before their bye week.
Wow.
I'll say it.
See, I'm not gonna.
No, I can't do 6-0. All right,
I was about to say, I was like, what the fuck are you saying,
Utah?
Yeah, I'm like, they're gonna lose by 30.
I got them going over before their second bye.
Okay, all right. I'll take the over 5.5. Let's go.
I even tried to make sure we wouldn't do this again by starting off by we were all really high on them.
No, but their win total was way.
Colby's not in on this. Makes me like it more.
I'll take it just for the hell of it. I think they're going to be 6 and 6. 6 and 6.
I carefully select my overs. You don't have to join me. I've averaged like 3 overs a conference. I'm not doling them out.
Give me 6 and 6.
And oh, by the way.
That's a sharp move, Kramer. Predicting the win loss right on their number. That's 6-6, but it could go either
Well, look,
way.
they're gonna have that 6 win against Houston, but they're gonna fire him despite that. And
This is
then they're gonna be because they want to get ahead of it.
Colby,
And then they're gonna hire Urban Meyer.
It's a great segment for your show. You close out every team preview with one like really negative take and one really positive take, so you can.
Yeah,
He's
so when
6-6,
you
but
put
he's
out the
fired.
clip.
Yeah, then you do another one where it's like, I really think a 12-0 season's in the cards here.
Yeah, because you go, Dave Aranda is going to get fired, and then you.
Well,
have
he
that-
really is. They're not going to be happy with 6-6.
Okay, they're perfect.
Yeah.
And then we also have the clip of you saying them going over their win total. So if they shock the world and they're 10-2, you go, I was on there over the entire time.
Well, it's not my fault.
If
Vegas set it at 5.5.
If Aranda gets fired, then we have the firing clip.
We're in.
He is going to be fired, and 6-6 is going to happen.
Okay.
I like that.
I boxed him into a corner, Kramer.
Do you?
We still have those other clips. Don't worry, Colby. We got
Next up, we got one of our Utah teams.
soak.
Which it sounds like in recent post-pandemic times, there has been some dispelling to the soaking, and it turns out they just have normal collegiate penetration like everyone else. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who will get penetration.
I guess the modern.
Lies. You sit on a throne of lies.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've never done it myself, so who knows? Sounds a little bit like an orgy that Tom Hanks would attend. BYU 2-7. I was really blending some medals there in conference last year. One of the newcomers, 5-7 overall. So they did go 3-0 in the non-con. 4.5 is the total. They have the second or the third lowest adjusted after Houston and Arizona State. -130 to the under, 140 to 1 to win the conference, 1,000 to 1 to win the national championship. Sean, just brace yourself because Colby's 100% going to love this over.
Yes, and first off, we get closer to having no 7-year guys in college football because
Really?
COVID. We're a year removed from that, and BYU is the one program that can continually do that.
Well,
Also,
that's normal there, though.
Yeah, well, that's probably why they've struggled lately too. Is everyone's in their 7th year?
Like, how are
So,
you 28? I've just been on a mission.
But
okay.
but
mission
also
from Gad.
look, they swung and failed they went for Keaton Slovis last year, which was a dumb move
Yep.
because he's never completed a season, and of course he gets injured.
Yeah.
And you look at what they had; they were 4-1 with an 11-point loss to Kansas, which was on a pick six. That was a lot closer of a game. It was a late pick six that made it an 11-point score. They were right there, right? And then they got injured. And I like Jay Hill's second year as defensive coordinator. I think he's a really good coach. And then you look at what they did. Oklahoma, they had a backup quarterback. They should have beat Oklahoma on November 18th. They also pushed Oklahoma State to double overtime, the team that played in the Big 12 championship. I think this team's a lot better than their record last year. I love
Sataki since
he's coaching for his job too.
Since 2016, he's only gone under 4.5 wins once, all the way back in 2017. Now, certainly, playing as an independent a bunch of those years, but 9-4.
But dude, those schedules as independents were insane.
Oh, it was hard.
Yeah.
9-4, 4-9, 7-6, 7-6, 11-1, 10-3, 8-5, and then their first year in the Big 12, 5-7. The concern for me, they are getting 14 returning starters. Their yards per game in Big 12 play was comically bad, -141.
Backup quarterback.
And they face 4 of the top 5 Big 12 teams. Those would be the concern. I'm with you though on liking the over, liking them in year 2, and liking Sataki overall.
Well,
but
the non-con is
tricky.
Yeah, I mean, so
at Wyoming is not an easy game.
That's a historical rivalry game back on the schedule.
Luckily, it's in September, but still, that's not easy. I guess the Provo kids are.
How about
used
the
to
SMU game? I love this matchup.
Yeah.
The
SMU.
Mormons against George Bush and his
and the
Illuminati.
Salukis.
Yeah.
Shout out to Stone Labanowitz.
You
legend.
say that, but why do you think they joined the Illuminati conference? I mean, you laugh away, but here we go.
The first 5 games are. I mean, their schedule's tough. I'll say this. I'm with you on the over, but this schedule is not easy.
They can lose. I mean, they could lose to Kansas State. I mean, Kansas State will be favored. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, they'll be favored, but they have one of the best home field environments.
Oh, I agree.
That is a dangerous place to play.
Let's play the game. How many games are they favored in? At home,
Southern Illinois, they'll be favored probably against Wyoming. even though I don't know that they should be.
At Wyoming,
at SMU.
I think they'll be favored against Wyoming. They won't be favored against SMU. I don't think.
and then they'll be favored against Houston.
Houston at home, definitely.
I think they could be favored at Baylor.
Okay.
I also think
I don't think so.
I think right now
they're going to beat Arizona State and Oklahoma State and Provo.
Well, Arizona State's in Tempe.
I think they're going to get
No. Arizona and Oklahoma State.
Oh, Arizona. Yeah. I think you said Arizona.
They're favored in maybe 3 games, Sean.
Yeah, I still think they get to the over.
They'll beat Kansas too. Like they're gonna. To me, the only flat out losses are what? Arizona State, UCF. No, not Arizona State. I'm sorry, UCF.
But we feel good about Jake Retzlaff, Colby.
Are we talking? I like what they did in the portal, man. They brought in Jerry Bohannon, who's a former Baylor quarterback, by the way.
That Retzlaff can clog your portal.
Also,
so you think Jerry Bohannon's going to start over Retzlaff?
I think Treson Borgat might start too. I think there's
But if you got 3 quarterbacks, you got 0.
Yeah.
Give me the over. The over's solid here.
I mean, BYU always a tough place to play. You got those kids going nuts in the stands, the elevation.
This I'm gonna go ahead and say it's a lock.
So you're gonna just throw
a lock.
everything last year is you're throwing on the quarterback.
Not only that, they were depleted. They also had a first year DC. So to me, it was they had their challenges just all.
So you think
around.
year 2 in the conference is going to be better?
I do. And you can look at when Utah joined the Pac-12,
and they still won
sucked
5
the
games.
first year.
The formula is pretty easy. It's like last year was a worst case scenario, and they still won 5 games.
Yeah, and really, when you look at it, you know they went like, I mean, they beat Texas Tech. Yes, they got their ass whooped by Texas, but once again, they had a backup quarterback that game.
They had Sam Houston on the schedule last year. They had Southern Utah on the schedule.
But they still won at Arkansas.
They had Cincy at home.
They still, like I said, they should have beat Oklahoma State and Oklahoma.
No, yeah, the Arkansas win was a nice one.
Kramer, just give it another
under. I don't see what you guys are seeing in this. Like, this was not a great team last year. You can explain away. I don't think this is a lock to go over 4.5. And the betting market agrees with me. That's why it's at -130. Cincinnati,
sharp.
Another one of these newcomers that did not have a good first season in the Big 12, formerly Big 12, now Sweet 16. 1-8 in conference last year, 3-9 overall. They're sitting at 5. It is crazy how alphabetically we got all the 7.5, 8.5, and 9.5 teams in the other half of the episode. Cincinnati 5.5, -115 to the over, -105 to the under. 65-1 to win the conference, and 100-1 or 1,000-1 to win the national championship. Cincy, let's see if I had to predict this one. Colby maybe not as high on Cincy as BYU. This is the only thing that makes me like the BYU total is I feel like BYU and Cincy are a lot closer than the 4.5, 5.5 would suggest. Colby?
No, I would disagree. But I mean, I think Cincinnati's schedule is very challenging. Towson's a decent FCS. They lost to Miami, Ohio last year. Miami, Ohio won the MAC, brought back a lot of that roster at Jagerbaum Stadium there. They got to go to Oxford to Jagerbaum Stadium.
Do you like Cincinnati?
No.
Oh, I was saying they're not good. Like like the reason I should like BYU is their win total is lower than Cincinnati.
Went over my head.
Yeah.
But remember they beat Pitt last year, so I'm looking for Pitt to get a revenge spot there.
It's a very difficult schedule.
And then you look at really, I mean, what's it? 4.5? You said 2?
5.5.
5.5.
There's no way. I mean, build me 6 wins. What? Towson, Miami, Ohio, Houston would be 3, and that's if they win. Houston and Miami, Ohio are toss-up games. Then
you think Pitt can come in and take them out?
You think they're going to be spending the night before at Towson? Because that could be a problem.
I thought Pitt was a better team last year. They just didn't show up that game.
Towson's like Radford of Maryland. Was that an insult?
Arizona State on the 16th. They could win that game, but I think Arizona State's actually a better roster right now. West Virginia, they could potentially get them, but West Virginia is a better team. TCU maybe, but the reason you can talk yourself into it is because they do have a lot of winnable home games. Yeah, I was about to say that would be the one thing. If you're building this, it's like,
oh yeah, they're obviously going to lose some of these road games, but also
Arizona State at home. You like that?
Houston
at home. Towson.
But Houston's
at
more
least-
talented than
You can
Cincinnati,
at least
man.
give them 3 guaranteed wins. I think.
Houston has a quarterback that could be getting
And Willie
drafted
Fritz is
too,
a fucking
although-
great coach. Satterfield is still like the question marks there.
But they'll be favored over Houston at home. They'll be favored over TCU and West Virginia. Three games.
They won't be favored over West Virginia.
No, you're right. Yeah. So TCU. So 1, 2, 3, 3, maybe 4 games they're favored. To your point, this feels like a lock. I'm not sure why this is a different number than the BYU under.
Yeah, I'll take the under too.
For those counting,
capping college football is tough.
1 over 4 unders, and I'm on the under as well. Bearcats under 5.5.
These fuckers only have 2 overs. Acting all hoity-toity over here.
2 and 3 is way more balanced than
Get
1
out
and
of the
4.
way. I need to put my pinky up.
I'm going to put my pinky up. Ryan,
Yes.
you signed up with Rhythm. What if not? What are you waiting for? You got that 7-day free trial just waiting for you. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. Rhythm is the place for AI sports picks and props. You can create your own data model using the stats that matter to you. And of course, Rhythm can just create some models for you. They've been crushing it in the WNBA and golf. Follow Golf Gambling Pod on X. Steve has been putting out some videos for the different tournaments. Nice plays over there. And again, WNBA golf right now, perfect time to get started with those picks and props, or just start tinkering it away. Get your model figured out, and also it's nice flex. Like, my model says this. Instantly, you're credible. Meanwhile, Rhythm is doing all the heavy lifting. They're crunching all the numbers. They got a bunch of doing all the work for you. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM to claim your free 7-day trial.
All right, now to talk about everyone's favorite team, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, one of the greatest athletes this country's ever seen.
Super athletic children.
Also, one of the greatest youth sports parents and coaches ever, as he's coached every level as his son has grown older and older. It does seem pretty obvious he'll be leaving Colorado to go to the NFL at the end of this year, but until then, we have to reflect. 1-8 in the Pac-12 last year, 4-8 overall. Sean and Colby will remind you they did go over that win total.
Yep,
5.5 is this
Easy
year's
money.
win total. I assume easy money was last year.
I said I was 3-1 in Big 12 locks. I should have included Colorado to make it 4-1 because I'm not what
it's not a
episode
Big
am I
12. It wasn't a Big 12 lock.
It was Pac-12
It was
last year.
Pac-12.
No, that's what I'm saying. But we're talking about them.
That's not
So
the
I should
audience
have
problem.
included them.
They
I should have included them when I said 3-1. I'm correcting myself. I was actually 4-1 on last.
No, actually, you know what? We were gonna do the Pac-2 with the Mountain West. Maybe we should just make it its own episode, so Sean can tout.
Yeah. All right.
He needs a place to tout the Colorado win total from last year. All right, minus 140 to the over. So it looks like a bunch of donkeys are running to the window to follow Coach Prime off a cliff like a lemming. Plus 115 to the under.
Colby, do we ask you this? You're familiar with Dominic the Donkey, right?
Yes.
Okay.
He grew up on the East Coast.
Well, I feel like some people on the East Coast haven't heard of him.
Really?
Yeah.
40 to 1. They must be from the South then. Have you had? We haven't talked about this recently, but when does the East Coast end? Is it around like DC?
Probably right around like
DC,
Virginia?
right?
somewhere in Virginia, because Southern Virginia is a lot different than Northern Virginia.
You say the South.
Yeah.
You say once you're in the Carolinas, you're in the South. You're no longer on the East Coast.
Yeah.
All right, we agree. DC. We'll just say DC. Maryland Crabs are in the North. 40 to 1 to win the conference. 300 to 1 to win.
Real quick. I was actually 5-1 on my locks because I also had Utah under 8.5.
We're not talking about this. This is the big.
But I got to get my Pac-12 touts out somewhere.
No, we're going to do a Pac-2 episode. Now that they have all this money, maybe they can sponsor the episode. All right, one of the 3 teams we'll talk.
Oregon State. Oh no, that was
one of the 3 teams we'll talk about. You want to tout
Pac-2.
Luke Musgrave? Any Luke Musgrave stuff you want to slap there?
Did hit him anytime touchdown that playoff game against the Cowboys.
He
So
went
good,
to a Pac-12
good memory,
school.
Ryan.
Carson Steele also went to a Pac-12 school. We can keep doing this. All right, one of the three teams we'll talk about on this episode that are sub 1,000 to 1 to win the Natty. That's got to only be because, again, those same donkeys are galloping to the window. Donkeys galloping to the window. Tell me why you're taking the over this year, Colby.
I just think you look back at last year, and to me, the Pac-12 is way better than the Big 12. And you look back, and they had 4 losses by 7 points or less to 8 wins or 9 win or 10 win teams.
3 net close losses, according to Phil Steele. A massive jump in experience.
Yeah.
Second year of Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter missed a ton of time.
Yeah, he
What
missed like a month. They're so much better on the line of scrimmage. This is where last year.
Where are they more experienced?
Last year, like I knew that I thought their record would be 4-8 or 5-7.
Is it play call?
Right? Go back and listen to the preview. I said best case scenario 5-7, and that Stanford game would have got them 5-7 had they not blown a 28-point lead.
Offensive coordinator tenure. No.
What do you
I'm
mean?
just saying, where's all this experience?
No, they're just the transfer portal.
Transfer.
What do you mean?
Portal.
And to me, they're just way better on the line of scrimmage this year. And I think that is why it's a slam dunk to hit the over again. There's no way this team's not bowling.
They were the worst. They were the worst team in Power 5 on the line of scrimmage last year.
Yeah,
they only had one direction to go up.
Great point.
Doesn't say anything. I don't
their
think
schedule's
it says
lighter this year than it was last year.
That's a true statement.
And just because the Pac-12 was better than the Big 12 this year, and they also, to me, have a better schedule. Like,
why are they
better
playing?
Team? Yeah.
Can I ask you why are they playing North Dakota State to open the season?
That's some shit before Coach Prime. That was scheduled
because you want to talk about an FCS team that can play at the line of scrimmage.
Well, you can say, why are you playing at Colorado State?
That's a rivalry game.
Yeah, but they don't normally play in Fort Collins.
To me, like the part of the schedule that's easier is the conference stuff.
They get Utah at home, which is huge.
They have a lot of new pieces though as well, and a lot of talent and experience that have come from other places that have to gel as a team.
Yep.
And they open.
Who's better
with one of the best
than an amazing gel artist in Coach Prime?
Yeah.
If there's any, I mean, I'm ready to run through a brick wall watching Coach Prime's speeches. You don't think he can get a couple?
He gels you, gets you gelled up.
Oh yeah.
And the win total is 5.5. This is a lock.
Lock.
Colby.
Look, I've nailed the Buffs the past 3 years.
He's
right?
dialed in.
I knew that they would suck the 2 first years. Last year we hit the over. This year, and we hit the over the first 4 weeks. We cashed that ticket on like September 21st. Right?
Things didn't go so great after that.
Okay, but I expected that. I said 4-8 or 5-7. Like that was a great first year for Colorado. People are stupid if they think otherwise.
They won 1 game the year before.
And they brought in a 5-star left tackle, Jordan Seaton coming in.
I mean, I'm with you. The schedule got way tougher. They had some issues with play calling.
And Travis Hunter was out for a month.
Travis Hunter missing all that time was huge.
Yeah, this is a lock.
Huge.
This is a lock.
All right, so a couple point spreads. I want to draw the attention of.
I've already bet Colorado against North Dakota State.
North Dakota State, really?
Yeah, North Dakota State's breaking in a brand new head coach. They're not the same.
What's
North
the
Dakota
spread
State.
week 1?
Only laying 8 points against North Dakota State. Watch out.
That's a trendy pick too. I love Colorado because the money I think is coming in on the Bison.
Producer Josh already invested in that one. Colorado, or maybe he's talking about the win total. Colorado, Nebraska, or here's the one. Colorado's laying 8 on the road at Colorado State.
Yeah, I would take the points.
Are we serious with that?
I would take the points there.
I think, if we're going to play the game, what games are they favored in?
Well, we know
North Dakota State
and Colorado State. They should
Colorado
be Nebraska.
State.
I don't know why they're not to Nebraska.
Dogs, a touchdown dog to Nebraska.
That's ridiculous. Take Colorado +7 right now. A freshman quarterback against that secondary? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, especially if Hunter's healthy.
Yeah.
That guy, his break on the ball is electric.
I want to see, just because he had a great spring game, Dylan Raiola throwing to open people. Prove it to me against elite. Why is
are you mad at people about their? I feel like I'm representing some sort of group of theys for Colby and my Colorado take.
Well, no, I think it's trendy, and look, Deion does this shit himself to get
puts a big target on his back.
Yeah, but at the same time, like
take some bullets for those.
Any idiot that just picks up and says, "Well, Colorado was 4-8 last year." That was an awesome first year. Yeah, they were 21-point dogs in the season opener. They won outright.
Right. Outright.
I mean, that was a great first year. You bring in a 5-star tackle, Jordan Seaton, and then you kill it in the transfer portal. You're so much better on the line of scrimmage than you were a year ago at any point in the season, offense and defense. So to me, that is why. And then you add that, I think they're a better receiving core. Jimmy Horn's back. Travis Hunter is healthy, and they went and added some nice receivers in the portal. They bring in the running back from Ohio State, Hayden. I think they're just a much better football team.
And your favorite in 4 games?
That's a lock, dude. They're favored by. They're gonna win. What, like, they're a contender in the Big 12 this year.
Okay,
Can't wait.
I like the road schedule too. Let's talk about this.
but Sean, you're not being reasonable. Like they're favored in 4 games.
Let's talk about this road schedule.
You got to get to 6.
Why should Nebraska be favored against Colorado? Colorado's won 3 straight ever since they've left the Nebraska hasn't beat them since they left the Big 12, right? And then you have a freshman quarterback in a second game against an elite secondary.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I value team building, and clearly there was no team building. There's been no team building done by Dion, even going back to FCS. He had talent at FCS, and they were the best team. But
last year's roster was not that good, dude.
No, I know. I'm just saying it's tough to put a team together in a single off season. I don't think they're going to be there right now. They were
a lot better than Colorado the year before. A lot of people think Dion abused the transfer portal. Let me tell you the truth on this.
I'm fine with what he did.
He did, but 2 years ago,
it's hard to make a team.
2 years ago, 30 players left Colorado, and they all went to other programs and got drafted. Mekhi Blackman, Christian Gonzalez, the safety Mark Perry for TCU, Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice.
This is personal.
The fuck out of here. This is a lock.
Under.
You gotta love the home schedule here.
Give me a no. Enjoy laying that -140. Good luck. Houston, another man. We are just rattling off the basement of the Big 12/Sweet 16. Houston was 2-7 in conference last year in their inaugural year in the conference. 4-8.
Got hosed against Texas.
4.5.
Got absolutely hosed.
I remember that.
And the guy doing the replays, a Texas grad, they didn't do the replay on that shit.
How do you let that through?
Yeah.
How do you not catch that? It should be the same rules as a jury. Come on. 4.5 is the win total, +145 to the over, -180 to the under. As I mentioned earlier, this adjusts down to the lowest number in the conference at 3.8. 110 to 1 to win the conference, 1,000 to 1 to win the Natty.
What do you think about Willie Fritz, Colby?
Oh, he's one of my favorite coaches. So I mean,
put that ball on the tee. Just get it out there.
This is
you want to hit lefty or righty?
That's great. I mean, he's done this his whole career. If you listen to us long enough on the college football experience, like when he took the Tulane job, I locked up the over. Boom, it hit. He's done this. He's a really, really good coach, and I think in no time they will be able to, and especially nowadays, I feel like it's easier for first year coaches to come in via the transfer portal. He brings in a bunch of guys from Tulane. And I don't think last year's team was that bad. I believe, but this is a major upgrade at coach in my opinion. So maybe the first month they struggle. I don't know, but I would say like, I do think that Houston is in very good hands moving forward.
Donovan Smith.
Well, and he's been there forever. It's always great to have like a 30-year quarterback. But out the gate, you do get
good though.
He's solid.
I was reading some like NFL scout lens reports on him, and it wasn't super positive. Seems like he's reckless with the football. They
have such a great track record of quarterbacks being drafted in the NFL. They really know what they're doing. These NFL.
Now,
they really know what they're doing, bro.
What's going on here?
I just say like quarterbacks, like, come on. Like I laugh at the fucking quarterback people. You know what I mean? Like
get down. Colby, he's really going after people.
Well, come on. Anyone could, like me and Patty C did a deep dive on this.
Oh boy.
They hit rates like 49% on a quarterback. So just because they say, oh, this is the man, that means nothing to me. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I was more referencing the scouting report to bring up the fact that he seems to be reckless with the football. Turnovers generally are bad and can cause teams to lose.
So they
not
were
reach their potential.
4-8 last year. Can Willie Fritz coming in there get them up to 5 wins this year? That seems reasonable.
I think they're better than UNLV, but I do like UNLV catching them game 1 because
what's the spread?
I'm not sure there, but
if they
I'll
don't
look it
beat
up.
UNLV
Who?
though, that might
UNLV
be
in the opener. UNLV Houston.
UNLV is catching 3, so
Yeah,
that kind of puts
that's
the
a
benchmark.
big game for them right there.
Rice at home,
and Rice beat them last year. I do think they can beat Rice this year, but Kurt Warner's son does come over to he's starting quarterback at Rice now. But I also think they'll beat Cincinnati on September 21st. I think their program's in better shape right now than Cincinnati's. So you could be 3-1. That UNLV game they got to get. They probably should be 3-1. If we're saying the spread is -3 for them, heading into that Iowa State game, and Iowa State Matt Campbell just plays every game within 7 points, so they could have a shot to be 4-1. I favor Iowa State, but like I said, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Like that, they always play fucking close games. So,
22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Looks like he puts the ball in harm's way. It's hard to take another under.
I can tell you this. I like also the fact teams that have to play Kansas on the road is a great thing for them this year because Kansas does not have their stadium.
Yeah,
they are playing at Arrowhead. So
will they fill it out though? Like, could that potentially turn into a sneaky home edge?
I mean, that's a different state though, but
it's allowed. I understand that. Well, by the way, the Chiefs might be moving to Kansas in unrelated news.
Yeah. Don't go down that alley.
But it is
it is allowed.
It's a dark alley.
Yeah, don't go down that alley.
Don't go there.
Fucking NFL.
Don't go there.
The NFL. I am. Yeah, don't go there.
I can't bring anything up.
Let's stay positive. Let's stay positive.
Willie Fritz, he can. No, get him in 5 games.
But can't. Yeah. So you're taking the over?
I'm taking the over. Yeah.
I am because look, I like where they get Baylor. I think there's a chance Aranda could be fired by then. And I think he's just good for one upset that we don't see. Maybe it's the TCU game.
Kramer, just to give you another under.
No, my thesis was going to be like, I don't know. We also like Willie Fritz on this program. We've made some nice money. We made some money with him in his most recent tenure, and this is typically I do like to have a basement dweller over 4.5 plus 145. I guess I'll take it. They have a quarterback that could get like 5th, 6th round pick in the NFL draft. All right. Cuts down the interceptions. You've talked me in. I now have a second over.
Can I talk about my favorite Willie Fritz performance of all time?
What do you do?
When he beat Florida without throwing a pass at the Swamp with Georgia Southern. Trying to find the box score.
Wow.
That might have been Monken.
Well, you're forgetting your great triple option wins.
Wait. Where is that?
They're getting to you, Colby. Mm-hmm. They are getting to you. All right. While you look that up, I'll talk about the Cyclones of Iowa State, which, by the way, J Mark is okay. Apparently, these filthy
Twisters,
these Cyclones of Iowa State are trying to come get him in his house.
Yeah, Colby, I assume you're all over how they should rename the Cyclones. I mean, Cyclones.
I will not stand.
Cyclones have killed more people than
right?
conquistadors in the past couple hundred years.
Well, we saw that tree that murdered in J Mark's yard.
Colonists or colonists.
I saw they did
killed less people than Cyclones these days.
That was
and look, and since we're talking about things you're offended by, I saw that they did a remake to Twister.
Oh no,
I almost said Twitter.
It's called that.
Twister.
I saw that preview for that.
What do you mean?
They made a sequel. It's already been out.
How do you make a sequel?
The tornadoes are back.
It looks.
Are there snakes in these tornadoes? And this time there's a shark in the middle. I mean, come on, guys. It is funny how weather somehow we got sensitive to everything, but not weather. Weather doesn't kill. It's not offensive. We can still make plenty of jokes.
It's coming soon. It's not quite out yet.
Look, you can't weather. It depends where you choose your weather.
The Cyclones that we're just going to call them Iowa State. I don't feel comfortable saying Cyclones.
Don't drop any C-bombs on this.
I don't want to get some negative reviews. Like that time Sean didn't know who Bill Snyder was. 6-3 in conference last year. Yeah, we need to make sure we keep the Big 12 episode going forward so we can always remind people. 7-5 overall. Now their win total is 7.5 -110 each way. 10-1 to win the conference. 300-1 to win it all. What are your thoughts on this program?
I love it, but
as we head into expansion.
Well, as long as Matt Campbell's coaching, which
he's not going anywhere at this point.
Like, Cincinnati. He's from Ohio.
Yeah, I guess
if Cincinnati becomes open,
and that would probably be equal, if not better, pay and a much easier trip.
Well, and he's plugged into the recruiting there. Like he played at Mount Union.
I mean, it just you're going to a football state. You don't have to explain it, right?
Last time, little trivia, Colby. When was the last time Iowa State went over 7.5 wins?
When they went to the Big 12 championship in what was that 20 or 21?
2020.
Yeah.
COVID year, and then before that 2018. So last 3 years, 7-6, 4-8.
And last year would have had 30 players not been suspended from his team for gambling. I mean, like that, like the starting quarterback, a starting running back.
This is an easy.
That was one of the best coaching jobs last year, maybe in the history of my lifetime.
Don't we just think in general the fact that you're not dealing with that is an immediate regression?
Well, he started so many freshmen because of that, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're going to be a great team this year.
19 returning starters.
So
you would imagine
comb through the schedule too. It's like I feel like a lot of the schedules we've been looking at, you're like, oh man, they don't have a winnable.
The problem is they play so many, like even their wins against like Arkansas State or Baylor or wherever will be by 4 points. You know what I mean? Like
they're all winnable. Like
yes, they're all winnable because that's how good they're coached up. I would say the only flat out loss is at Utah.
North Dakota Fighting Hawks at home, at Iowa. Obviously, they
won the last time they played there, but those games are always wacky.
Arkansas State at home, you like them there. Even at Houston, we're higher on Houston, so maybe Baylor at home, not a bad spot for them.
They should be 4-1,
but they play UCF at home. They at Utah. To your point, is a guaranteed loss.
And you got to like how they get Kansas at Arrowhead,
Texas Tech at home.
I'll take the over. Because they can beat any of these teams.
Where are they dogs?
At Utah and at Iowa, and probably at West Virginia too.
At Kansas, probably.
The spread for the Iowa game, I believe, is like 2.5.
Yeah.
Well, that's always though. Any Iowa game.
I just think they have a lot of winnable home games. They have some not scary road spots. To me, this is part of the reason I'm not on the Arizona over, because I think I like Iowa State a little bit more.
Fair, I like that.
And I didn't want to end up with 4 overs. That would have been disgusting. Half and half. No, thank you. All right, I'm ready to lock it up.
Yeah, so we're all in Iowa State over 7.5. Time for a lock in a future play for the Sweet 16 Conference Preview Part 1. Kramer.
All right. Well, early on in the episode, we kind of brushed over a couple teams. We said this is going to be a lock. I tried to derail optimism towards Baylor, but it was kicked right back in my face. And keeping in tradition, I don't take a lot of overs, but I lock them up. Give me Baylor over. Give me Colorado under 5.5. Someone's got to be a hater. And, in a conference where I think you're going to want to take some shots on some long shots, I don't mind taking a small piece of Iowa State, because if they're put together and they like, there's when we get through the other side, you're going to see, I think they have one of the easier schedules in the conference, and they probably don't have the ceiling to truly get in the game. But I don't know who on the other I keep saying the other side, but I don't know who in the other part of the preview we're going to do where I'm really going to say, yeah, they're a dominant team that I'm not worried about. So Iowa State, I'll take a piece for two straight years. This time it's only 10-1 though.
BYU over 4.5. Lock it up. Colorado over 5.5. Lock it up. And the Colorado Buffs to win the Sweet 16 40-1. They got 2 potential Heisman candidates on the same team. They have a coaching legend in the making in Coach Prime. Great home field advantage. Go Buffs. Colby.
I mean, we see eye to eye. Those are the 2 that I feel best about. BYU over 4.5 and Colorado over 5.5.
Fellow Sharps.
You guys.
And
that is an embarrassing.
The future is Iowa State though. I think Iowa State's schedule breaks the nicest for them to play in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be like the Oklahoma State position where you're like, you don't
great hedging opportunity.
Probably don't have
that I won't actually hedge.
But
well, I don't even know that you'd want to, because if Iowa State ends up in the Big 12 championship, like they're capable of beating the team. There's no Texas and Oklahoma anymore.
Well, that's part of the handicap. Who, if they assuming
like Utah away from Salt Lake City is vulnerable
on a neutral right now, they would only be dogs against Utah, Kansas State, maybe Kansas, depending on where it was.
Yeah,
and
maybe West Virginia.
Where is the championship?
Arlington at filthy Jerry's World.
Yeah, I mean maybe the one of the Florida, maybe Oklahoma State, I guess. That
maybe UCF too. I don't know. It depends.
I'm just purely looking at win totals. Yeah, it's a pretty short list, so good price.
Great price. We got part 2 of the Sweet 16 College Football Conference Previews coming up. Make sure you check out our top 10 fantasy football previews. Get you ready for that. And Colby Dant and the College Experience fellas previewing every single college football FBS team.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
So brave.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, second the money green. He's Ryan.
2 Heisman contenders means you have no Heisman contenders.
Kramer, let it ride.